All right, welcome back to MLive's Dungeon of Doom podcast. I am Ben Raven. He is Kory Woods.
What up, though? What's going on?
Tape delay because we are in off-season mode and remotely
yeah.
recording. It is Wednesday, January 29th. The Lions have somehow not played a football game in 10-plus days. It feels like it was 2+ months ago at this point. But what we're going to do today on today's podcast, we're going to run through the two new coordinator hires, John Morton, offensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepherd, defensive coordinator, give you our thoughts on that, give you an updated look at the coaching staff, the rumor and innuendo, if you will, on names that might be staying or going. And then we're going to close out, just for those who know what they want when they come to this episode. We're going to run through the 21 unrestricted free agents, kind of let that serve as an off-season primer, and then we'll figure out where the heck to go with the podcast from here after this week. Kory, we got an offensive coordinator. We got a defensive coordinator. Those are the two big questions entering the offseason, and heck, man, they're done in like a week. How you feeling?
Wow. Well, first off, I was not shocked at the Kelvin Shepherd hire. I think everybody pretty much felt that was the direction they were going to go, and it's good they went ahead and got it done quickly. But I will say that the John Morton one, which I'm pretty sure we're going to dive into a little bit more, I thought that one was actually done quicker than I expected. I thought that this coordinator search for to replace Ben Johnson might have dragged out maybe to as late as the end of this week, maybe the beginning, maybe as late as next Monday or Tuesday. But the fact that they wrapped that up, before the end of this week, to me, that one was the one that was like, oh, okay, they're moving quickly.
Yeah, I was also the only reason I was not surprised by Shepherd or the quickness of the DC hire. I mean, I think we pretty much led into that on last week's podcast that we expected that. We expected Shep to be the favorite. We expected one of those internal names to be the DC, but we really expected it to be Kelvin Shepherd. But I'll say John Morton, once I had that name run across me, not surprised. I was like, holy crap, Campbell loves this guy. Loves this guy. Like, I was looking up quotes on Inkster Tanner when I was apparently we're saying his name wrong. We got a reply last week about saying that.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
So we're doing our best. But I was looking for quotes on Tanner from Campbell, and I found this one from 2023 when Campbell got asked, just like, Tanner's continued to grow, passing game coordinator, following a similar track of Ben Johnson. And Campbell goes, yeah. But you know what I think really helped? Was the guy that hasn't been here for a year, John Morton, who's a superstar, like went out of his way to praise this guy. And I mean, when you just look at it, you're like, all right, they work together on the same offensive staff in New Orleans. They come from, John Morton's got a pretty deep connection tree, just like Campbell, but they come from that Sean Payton tree, if you will. Yeah. Morton's coming to Detroit from Denver, where he was passing game coordinator, and he's previously worked with Goff. He knows Detroit's offense. He gets credit for installing some of the passing concepts, so that's going to be approved by Jared Goff, as Campbell said was going to be important. So, like, the only thing I was surprised was one name leaked about an interview for OC, and then it was freaking done. So there you go.
It's almost like similar to even with the DC hire, Larry Foote leaked as a potential interview, but outside of that, it went straight to Shepherd. So yeah, it was pretty shocking how in that regard, it was just pretty shocking how they got things wrapped up on the hires. But when you sit down, you look, like you said, you sit down and you think about the Morton hire, it makes more sense. The guy was here, kind of served as a mentor to Tanner. And then when you also look at the fact that him and, like you said, they both worked together during their time at the Saints on Peyton's staff. And then I started also looking at some of Tanner's histories. He's been an offensive coordinator a couple times. One time, the NFL stint, Morton. The NFL stint, I didn't hold that much against him, because when you look at that Jets team that he was the OC of, he didn't really have much to work with. And but when you look at his time at USC, he was on Pete Carroll's staff, and they had some Rose Bowl victories to his name. So, and then just looking at the job that he did this past year with the Broncos, he was a guy that Peyton regarded as being very tough on the players and the rookies out the gate. And Bo Nix had a very much rookie of the year as season if Jaden Daniels didn't exist. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah. So I'm in the I'm in the wait and see mode for this one, but I think it's a hire that is understandable.
Yeah, and I think it's a hire that allows Campbell to have ownership of his offense and to be involved like he kind of said he wanted to do. And then, I mean, the defensive staff is just moving some pieces around. But yeah, a lot of people are wringing their hands and complaining about the 2017 New York Jets, which John Morton was offensive coordinator was. And fun fact, Casey Rogers, the team's new defensive line coach, was defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
So yeah, there are some ties, man. But let's just run through those 2017 New York Jets.
you're right.
This is gonna be the same message I had to people about worrying about Frank Ragnow. Take a drink of water, stand in the mirror, slap yourself in the face, and wake up. Like, his starting quarterback was 38-year-old Josh McCown. McCown, for his efforts, had his career best marks of passing yards and touchdowns. The man's three top receivers were Jermaine Kearse, Robbie Chosen, and a name I have not heard in quite some time, Austin Safarian Jenkins. And you want to know who had the second most touches for the 2017 New York Jets? I don't think you'd ever be able to guess this one. Matt Forte.
Wow. Former
in
Bears.
2017. Yeah, from the Bears. So I think Morton will have a little more talent and a longer leash here in Detroit.
Yeah, most definitely.
Like, I'm not gonna sit here and like say that I saw this coming or anything like that, but it is a hire that comes through, and you're like, he checks every single box that Campbell laid out when he was talking about what he wanted in a coordinator. Knows Goff, knows Campbell, same terminology, knows what they want to be about. That's so. I mean, it's one of those things where like didn't see it coming, didn't see that name specifically coming, but now that I see it, I'm not surprised at all by it.
And also, too, I do think it does say something about Campbell and the fact that while Tanner is a growing name, he's a guy that could possibly also not be here anymore. There are reports surfacing that he could boat to New York and follow Glenn and join the Jets. But I will say that promoting one first-time coordinator is one thing. Promoting two when you have a Super Bowl window could be a tad bit dicey. So I definitely understand that one. Even though with Shepard there may not be much of a drop off in message, do you really want to do that with two first timers when you have like let's just say a 2 to 3 year window where you can kind of make this thing happen?
No, it's a great point. Yeah. Because I think with Shepard, I mean, the main thing is just going to be getting him used to calling plays, getting him used to that. And I think Aaron Glenn was already kind of doing that as much as possible with the relationship. Like, Glenn was calling plays and running his defense. Let's not get that twisted. But, like, if there was an opportunity to give Shepard a moment in front of the team or give Shepard a moment on that sideline while AG did one of his viral sitting on the bench, reading his tablet, fixing his glasses moments, I mean, Shepard was the guy rallying the troops when that was going on. I mean, literally every single time. You don't see that on the broadcast. And the fact that you have a former defensive coordinator in Casey Rogers on that staff, the fact that Jim O'Neill, who's held a lot of roles on that staff, remains on that staff. Deshae Townsend did not get a defensive coordinator job elsewhere. Appears he's going to be back. I mean, there's a good foundation for Shepard to work with. I understand I understand exactly what you're talking about. Morton's done this before. Campbell knows him well. Tanner has not done this before. And I will, just to get a little joke in, I've enjoyed Lions fans freaking out about Tanner while sharing the wrong photo of the man all week long. I'm like, you don't even know what he looks like. Let's get a grip on this situation right now.
Yeah, I'm like, you guys are freaking. Is it like, are you freaking out because you know exactly what he does and who he is? Or are you just freaking out because somebody's telling you, oh, they're leaving. Everybody's aborting ship. I mean, I even had fans say like, hey, what's going on with Campbell in the locker room? Are these guys leaving a reflection of him? Like, all of these guys left for promotions.
He's starting his coaching tree.
Yeah, I'm like
that's literally what's happening.
and I'm like, you do realize that when Campbell left the Saints, he poached coaches from other teams to come here, right?
Yes, he did.
I mean, that's how you build a roster, a staff.
This is it's a problem. It sucks for sure. I get it.
Yeah.
But like, it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just is. It just is a good problem to have. I mean, now Dan Campbell gets to have his own Wikipedia page. Dan Campbell coaching tree. There you go. But yeah, let's run
Absolutely.
through a couple of the staff notes. You mentioned Tanner. National rumor and innuendo mill is attaching him to the New York Jets. That makes a lot of sense. The other name that we've seen attached to the Jets and Glenn's staff in New York. By the way, Aaron Glenn, introductory press conference, fantastic. Go check that out, everyone. It was fantastic. But Mark Brunell has also been connected to that New
Yeah.
York staff. And Antoine Randall and JT Barrett, the assistant quarterbacks coach, yes, that JT Barrett of Ohio State fame, are following Ben Johnson to Chicago. So, wide receivers coach is open. Seth Ryan, the assistant wide receivers coach, really respected and liked in that locker room. And I will just say, John Morton's former wide receiver at Western Michigan. He is a Michigan native, played wide receiver in the NFL, NFL Europe, Canadian Football League, knows wide receivers very well. That's his expertise. So, like,
Yeah.
don't freak out too much about that. They're in good hands there.
Again, we can kind of beat this point, as much as we want. But again, at the end of the day, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes had the sense to hire these guys to begin with. So if they knew to bring them one staff and they would be good fit, I'm pretty sure they would go out and have the same type of mindset in finding their replacements. And I mean, one thing also about Campbell that we've seen when it comes to his coaching staff is that if something is not working, he does not hesitate to replace you.
Yep. No, man, this is what, the third or fourth defensive line coach in his 3 or 4 years here. I mean, Aubrey President, Anthony Lynn, John Scott 1 year, Todd Wash I think was 1 year, Mark DeLone was 1 year to promote Calvin Shepard. I mean, like, when something's not working, like you said and you've said before, he'll eject. He'll hit eject and say, wow, messed up here. Let me fix this. Let me get my hands on this situation. Let me see what they need. And I mean, the man's batting average is Triple Crown worthy right now. I mean, it really is. And I think that's for those of you who are looking for myself or Kory to be nervous about anything. I can't fake that nervousness. I can't fake a angry negative column right now because I have so much faith in Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes based on what they've done and the fact that they are literally doing exactly what they said they were going to do.
And then on top,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean,
Yeah.
Campbell said that he wanted these guys on his staff to be set up for promotions down the line. If he would, he said, to kind of paraphrase him, he said he would love to keep those guys, but he wants them to succeed. He wants them to go on to be head coaches one day. So this is how it happens. And just on top of it, I mean, at the end of the day, you still have these core pieces of that personnel locked up for 3 to 4 years. So, I mean, the window, the staff is going to look different, but the window is still open as long as you have Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes.
Yeah, and I just think my faith in Campbell before that was a beautiful segue into our next topic, by the way. But I just wanted to read this previous Kelvin Shepard quote about Dan Campbell and how he's empowered him to be who he is and lead the way he wants to. Shepard, this was 2 years ago. Until the Lord blesses me one day with an opportunity to be a guy in charge, I don't want to work for anybody else. Like, I just, like, when you have that effect, Shep was 35 at the time when he said that. When you have that effect on these young, rising coaches, you've got me buying what you're selling and your ability to find. You've already proven it, player talent, but coaching talent too. Like, age, I don't give a crap how old or how young these guys are. If Dan Campbell hires you, he sees a fit and he sees a role for you to help this team get better.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to say where it was at just to have a little bit of fun. Kelvin Shepard has a great taste in where he shops for food.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not going to say it because I'm not putting his business out there. I'm just going to say
right.
that we shop at the same market and he has great taste.
I forgot you said you ran into him. That's fantastic. I love those meetings. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say where it was either, but like running into Broadwood in the wild one time, it was like, he was like nervous. I'm like, bro, it's chill. I'm just getting some.
Yeah,
like,
Hey, I'm doing the same. I'm doing the same thing you are. No microphone in hand.
I too am in Dearborn right now. No, no. But no, that's awesome. That's we're gonna run through 21 unrestricted free agents. We're gonna briefly touch on the situation. Got to give credit to Pro Football Focus. They've kind of estimated some potential contracts too. We'll talk about those. You got it in front of you over there?
Yeah, I had to put up on my computer, but things were getting a little bit weird with the connection. So I said, I'm just going to pull it up on my phone. I'm not going to torch the podcast by
Smart
making
man.
things more difficult than I have to be.
Nope, but we're just going to run through those 24. If you want to see my personal rankings, post at mlive.com/Lions. Ranking the 21 unrestricted free agents for the Lions. We're just going to run through the name. We'll run it through in the order I presented it, starting with number 1. I'll give you what PFF projects as a contract if they do it, and we'll just kind of, do you think they're back? Do you think they could be back? Do you think they're gone? Whatever. You guys know the drill. Number 1,
Yeah.
cornerback Carlton Davis III. Man, when he was healthy, when he was on the field, he was such a good mentor for Arnold, for Rakestraw, for Joseph, for Branch, and I think he got overlooked at how good he was as an actual player too.
I think that you have that. You said they were in order of what you think is important. I believe that is the most important offseason signing is bringing Carlton Davis back, just for the turnover they've had at that cornerback position, that CB1 position. I feel that he is a guy that could at least solidify it for the next couple of years before you start grooming Terry on for a bigger role. Ennis, some of those other guys. What he's did for the locker room and just the mentality that he brought. He had that grit mentality about him as well. So I think that in the offseason, that is a guy that's going to command probably some big money on the market, but hopefully you can be able to keep him here on maybe a friendly deal so they can go ahead and keep this window open. But I mean, yeah, that's to me that's the most important.
Yeah, that was I think we said it in the podcast right after the show. Like, I'm a believer in Rakestraw. I'm a big time believer in Terry and Arnold, but I don't think you can go into next season with those two as your top 2 cornerbacks, at least on the outside. Maybe Amik sticks on the outside, but and I think Amik is a player for this team next season, and that's nothing against him either. I just think Carlton Davis, man, that's a CB1. That's not your top of the line elite CB1, but the big challenge of this is he's one of the top defensive free agents on the entire market at a premium position. And if his contract is what PFF expects it to be, this man will be playing somewhere else next season.
Yeah,
so that's just
it's a big deal.
That's just a result. I mean, the Lions got cap space. The salary cap is likely to increase again. It's increased like 10, 15 years in a row. That will happen again. They'll have money to spend, but Kirby Joseph extension, Aiden Hutchinson extension. Extensions remain on the horizon. That's what happens when you draft well. So you've got to keep that money there too. But PFF projects Carlton Davis. They rank him as the 21st overall free agent in this year's class among all players. They ranked him 21st among all corners when he was on the field this year. They project his next deal 3 years, $42 million, $25 million guaranteed. He will not be back in Detroit at those numbers.
If that's the deal that's out there for him, I won't be saying it, but the front office will be like, "Hey, thank you for your service."
No, yeah, enjoy New York with Aaron Glenn. No, just,
and just so y'all know, this is water. This is water.
Yeah, you got to say that with the liquid deaths. It looks like you're cracking a Miller Lite.
Yeah, as I said, this is water.
Number 2 on my list was linebacker Derek Barnes. I'll just lead off with this. I don't care what his deal is. I don't care what he gets offered. I kind of put him in the territory of this guy's going to be back. Your new defensive coordinator. This was your new defensive coordinator's pet project. And continue to get the most out of him. Continue to get the most out of him. Barnes was awesome in 2023. He shows up this year. He's playing Sam. He's playing linebacker. He's playing slot cornerback. He's playing in the box. He's doing everything, and he's doing everything well. So I think no contract projection for Barnes. The national people are still sleeping on him, but his versatility and his ability to boost that linebacker depth and his love of Shep and Shep's love of him, man, sign me up to bring Derek Barnes home.
Also, one thing about Derek Barnes, and it's really unfortunate that his year was cut short due to injury, but this is a guy that, there were questions about him, early on, but he really rededicated himself to getting his body, and he said his mental in order. These are things that he told me, getting his body, his mental, and his faith in order, and that was what led to his play. And that dedication that you saw is what led to him being one of the most important pieces of that linebacker core. So I believe that is a guy that you definitely want to be able to bring back if you can. Also, it just goes to show that when you come to Detroit, or if you're drafted by Detroit, if you play well, we reward you. And to continue to have that reputation about the team, that is something they want to have. I don't think you should let a guy like that leave unless it just got too rich for you.
No, you're 100% right. Like, he continued to get chances. They continued to see something with him. And he's one of those original guys to take advantage of the land of opportunity here. He just checks so many boxes. I mean, he boosts your pass rush depth. He boosts your linebacker depth. And I mean, you look at that defense down the stretch right now. What did they need? They needed linebacker depth. They needed pass rusher depth. Derek Barnes, bring him home. Bring him home. Mm-hmm. Number 3 on the list, defensive lineman Levi Onwuzurike. Man, I know they'd love to bring him home. I know they would, because they waited for him. They waited for him. They waited for him, and they waited for him again. And just the definition of a homegrown piece. Brad Holmes' first second-round pick. The second pick he made as general manager. And it took 3 or 4 years to get him here, but man, he got here. One of the top pass rush win rates among interior defensive linemen. Filled in at defensive end. Filled in inside-outside versatility, man. I know they'd love to bring him back, but I think Levi might have played himself into another tax bracket.
Yeah, that's very well possibly did that. But also, too, I think they're going to try to bring him back just off like you just said. When you invest that much time and have that much patience with somebody, and you start to see them really kind of find themselves, you don't want to see them walk out the door and go to somewhere else and really become the player that you envisioned they were. Like, I mean, just imagine if you invested all this time into him and he goes in division. Oh, that would be horrible. So I could definitely see them trying to bring him back. But again, I could say this about a lot of guys. I think with him, that could be a guy where they're like, all right, we might have to go in a different direction, possibly in the draft to replace you. But if you can bring him back, that is another depth piece for a team that was just peppered with injuries on that side of the ball all year long.
Yeah, man, I know. Levi, man, he's been through so much. It's been so refreshing to see how he's fought through these issues. I mean, spinal fusion surgery, back problems, literally missing 2 years, missing his final year of college, and interior defensive linemen who can rush the passer and play defensive end on run snaps, man, those are valuable. Those are rare guys, and he's back at his playing weight that he wants to be, plus 300, and PFF does project his next contract. I would say this: if it stays in this range, the Lions got a chance. If it goes above this, they got too much. They got too many other things to take care of. But they project it 2 years, $17 million with 10 guaranteed. That's not out of this world. That's not
offensive.
It's not offensive, and I think they're on the low side. Is my point here. I think he has earned some more. It's going to be tough to bring him home, but man, gosh, homegrown, man, you waited so long. I'm with you. It would suck to watch him leave just because it's like, damn, you saw the light. You knew it. You knew he was there, and you were right. Now you want to watch him go hit with someone else? Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, nah.
All right. Number 4. This is an easy one. Right guard Kevin Zeitler. Man, that guy was awesome. One of the best run-blocking guards on the face of the earth still this season. Has hinted that he wants to come back for year 14. I'll be simple. If they can keep it in the 1 year, $6 million plus range, once again, get him back here. He can start while they let Glasgow and Mahogany compete in camp.
Perfect what I was just about to say. I know that everybody's ready to go ahead and throw Mahogany out there. I would probably say let him get one more year. Let him get one more year of seasoning. And how you do that by bringing back Zeitler. I believe that if you looked at this divisional round game, that his presence was sorely missed. And if you can get that guy back healthy and he wants to return and both sides work on a very favorable deal, I think he would come back on. I think he would come back on something like that. I think from if I can kind of judge the social media presence from his family, sure. They love Detroit. So bring back Zeitler for at least one more year. Who knows? Maybe that might be his swan song or something like that. But bring him back before you kind of throw Christian out there.
He's a Midwest guy. He can do his Midwest things here. He's in the twilight of his career playing for a Super Bowl contender. There's a starting spot here waiting for him. And like you said, like I know people are ready to put the crown on Mahogany's head, and he was great in those 2 starts, but like if you got Kevin Zeitler penciled as your right guard and you're going into training camp with Glasgow versus Mahogany for that left guard spot, it's a very good situation to be in. So I say bring Zeitler back. He was a fit here in every sense of the word. That's all we need to say there. That one was easy. Number 5, though, Ifeatu Melifonwu. This one's tough. This one's tough just because when he has played, man, love the player. Hard-hitting mentality. Great on the blitz. Great on the blitz. Like right up there with Brian Branch in terms of this team's best blitzers. And just a clutch guy, too. But, like, 31 games missed in 4 seasons with, like, 5 position changes in there.
For me, this is going to be the first one where I'm going to say this is a guy you might be able to find a replacement for through the draft or through free agency. My thing is when he's healthy, he's good. But again, the caveat is when he's healthy. With the team that has a Super Bowl window, the best ability is availability, and I think they're going to have to go ahead and, probably go in a different direction on this one. He's going to command big money, I believe, because he has that type of talent. But do you want to go ahead and invest in him long term? And I just don't see him returning. I can see him possibly, following either one of the coordinators that just left to either, Chicago or New York. But iffy is one that I'm iffy on.
Nice. He said, he told us in the locker room on locker room cleanout day just a little more than a week ago. Gosh, that feels like forever ago, that he'd love to be back in Detroit. But like you said, I don't think he's back in Detroit unless it is a team-friendly 1-year deal. And this is someone that could merit some interest. Like, all right, I know what he is when he's healthy. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery. So I'm very on the fence on that one. I'm 30% he's back, 70% he's not. So
yeah.
Number 6, wide receiver Tim Patrick. Man, I don't know. The wide receiver 3 role isn't the meatiest here in Detroit. This offense runs through St. Brown, J-Mo, Laporta, Gibbs, and Montgomery. That's not going to change. We'll see what happens with Tim Patrick. I think he liked it here. I think they liked him here. I think he fit in well with that role. 33 catches, 394 yards, and 3 touchdowns. 2 of those in 1 game. Just missed back-to-back seasons, and I don't know. I think the Lions should bring him back. You know what? Prepare for the future at that position. But, if you come into camp with Patrick and Allen Robinson, maybe a rookie or 2, competing for wide receiver 3 with Khalif Raymond still in his role, that's a good situation. And I think, Patrick just survived a season, man. What else do you want from him,
Yeah, that's a guy that I'm high on bringing you back. He's the big body that you need. Replacing Josh Reynolds was already going to be a tall task for anybody. I think he did an admirable job at it. I think as we seen the season progress, Goff got a little bit more comfortable with their chemistry. So I would like to see how he does with another year in that role, in the training camp and how they're able to kind of get things going. I would like to see him back. And I think they could probably get him back on a nice deal too. I don't think it would be. I don't see him commanding crazy money on the market. And from the videos that we've seen after celebrations in the post locker room, it looks like that guy is well liked within the unit. So that's a guy. Yeah, I would bring back Tim Patrick.
Yeah, and I think maybe he gets some outside looks, maybe he gets some outside offers just because he's a receiver. But I don't know, man. I think this one lines up pretty well for them too. Number 8. We're getting into the glue guy section. We're at number 7. Excuse me. This one will be quick too. All respect in the world to Marcus Davenport. They can't do that again.
No,
I'm sorry to him. He has missed so much time. The talent is there. Maybe Aaron Glenn's got a spot for him in New York. I don't see it here. He signed that incentive-laden deal. He lasted 2 games and 89 snaps before another season in an injury. You can't do it. You can't.
My thoughts. Play back what Ben just said. I don't have nothing to add.
Oh, what do you think about John Kaminsky though, Kory? I had him number 8. What do you think about the commish?
That's a really good one. I'm for bringing the commish back. I really am. I think that it really sucked to have him gone this year, but when he was
Mhm.
out there, that guy is a playmaker and he's reliable as a part of that depth. He's a guy that I would try to find a way to bring back somehow. I don't know what that looks like for him on the open market or whatnot, but just the presence he had on that unit and in the locker room, I think that's a guy you got to find a way.
Even if he has to come back and fight for a spot on the roster, I kind of look at him as like one of the Dan Skippers of the
Yeah,
defense. Like, man, everybody freaking loves this guy. Like, not just because, but because of how hard he works, what he's been through to get here, what he's earned, and what he's represented. I don't think there's going to be much competition for John Kaminsky. He was not great when he was healthy last season. He had the breakout 2 years ago, and he's had a lot of injuries since. So I think that is a potentially decent depth boosting move at a
yeah,
very
that's
low
not yeah.
risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And hey, number 9, Dan Skipper. I forgot he was next on the list. Keep this short. He filled in at left tackle 3 games. He is their extra blocker. He is a
Yeah,
cult hero. Bring him home. Keep him
bring
here.
him home. Yep, keep him here.
Oh, now we're getting into like the defensive section of guys who got forced into playing time. Number 10, edge rusher El Quadin Muhammad. Man, I think he was the player that took the most advantage of this injury situation this year. I mean, he played a key role, man. This was an Aaron Glenn draft pick back in the New Orleans days. Played for the DC, 29-year-old, 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Seemed like he belonged. Like, never seemed like the moment was too big for him. And I mean, obviously it depends on if there's outside competition, but like anything that boosts your pass rush depth, you get their butt back in the building.
That's where I was going at with Muhammad. It's not of if you should bring him back, it's if he played himself out of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the concern that I have about him because I mean, like you said, he was a force to be reckoned with, and just being able to have him back for another season and as a depth or maybe who knows, maybe competing alongside Ada. You never really know. I'm just saying, but yeah, I personally think he might have played himself out of Detroit, but if they can get him back, that's a major win.
Yeah, he's a very strong bull rusher, fit their style, fit what they wanted to do, but like yeah, he was good. Like he belonged. Like he really did. And those are the top 10. We're getting a little long in the tooth right now, so we're going to go rapid fire for the next one.
All
I'll
right, there
take
we go.
11. You're going to take 12, and we're going to shoot back and forth. I'll take 11. Cornerback kick returner Khalil Dorsey. Ugh, brutal injury, broken tibia and fibula in the loss to the Bills down the stretch. They were singing his praises as one of the best special teamers in the league. If he is, it's all about his injury timeline, but like, man, him on locker room cleanout day was just like, man, I just hope I get another shot. I just think the praise from Dave Phipp and company on him, they'll bring him back, see where he's at, maybe practice squad him, injured reserve him, find a way to keep him on. I mean, you need pieces for that special team unit too. On to Kory for number 12, everybody's favorite backup cornerback, Kendall Vildor.
Vildor, you know what? I'm gonna say this: he's good against the run, but I mean everything else leaves a lot to be desired. I think that this is an area where the Lions could improve him through the. I don't necessarily think they need to go through the draft. I think they could probably find somebody through free agency to be able to kind of fill in that depth spot, maybe be a little bit better in coverage. So I would say Vildor out.
All right, I love it. He catches a lot of flack, but he's seen a lot of snaps and high pressure moments for good or bad. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Number 13, I will take defensive lineman Pat O'Connor, who also had his season ended to a calf injury. Ended up starting, playing the most snaps of his career. Was a Lions pick in like 2017 or 16 out of Eastern Michigan. And I said, love something like Pat O'Connor loves pumping up the Ford Field crowd because like if he's on the field, he's pressing the R3 button, pumping that crowd up. Like he loves doing that, man. But yeah, we'll see, man. I think there's going to be a point where the defensive line runs out of spots, but Dan Campbell could not help himself with this guy. So
Yeah.
I think the love internally of Pat O'Connor and the fact that he played a lot of snaps and seemed to be getting better as they went on. Get Pat back here. Let him compete for his spot. He surprised us all a little bit this year. Back to you, the man. Calvin Shepard didn't even know his last name when he signed with the Lions. We got linebacker Ezekiel Turner.
Again, you're going to have to go out in free agency to keep to go find guys for depth reasons. This guy has already played here. You know what he's made of. You know where he excels at, and I think he would definitely be a great addition to the special teams. This is a guy I think that you find a way to go ahead and keep because he's already proven that he belongs here. Why let him walk out the door? And you know you're going to need a guy like him for your depth.
Yeah, no, I loved him on special teams. I think Turner's back. I think Turner gets a chance to stick. Number 15 is linebacker Ben Neiman. I think Turner, younger, took advantage of the opportunity. Now, Ben Neiman played a lot of snaps at linebacker down the stretch out of necessity. He is who he is on special teams, but you know what? I think Turner over Neiman, get a little youth in there, get someone who took advantage of that land of opportunity. So yeah, I think Neiman's out. I think Neiman will find another opportunity. I think Turner will step into that spot and kind of new age Anthony Pittman with Pittman back too. Number 16 didn't get to. Oh, he did play a little bit this year. Yeah, torn pectoral injury, but defensive lineman Kyle Pecco.
You need depth. I'm just one, and then Pecco definitely did that. He's been, when he did step on the field, he was all right. I think that's also another area where in maybe free agency or in maybe sometime, maybe somewhere later in the draft, that you can just go ahead and just add another name, maybe a younger one, to be able to improve in that area and get you more of what you need. So on Kyle, I'm gonna say pass.
All right, I'm gonna let you take number 17 too because you talked to this guy a lot. Wide receiver Allen Robinson.
This is a very, very tricky one. Robinson is a little bit on the older side, and if you're already talking about bringing back Tim Patrick, do you want to go ahead and bring back Robinson too? I'm gonna kind of like I'm gonna waffle on this one. I'm gonna say null and void. If you move on from him, understandable. If you bring him back, it's also understandable. I mean, first off, he's a good locker room guy, a good veteran for everybody to lead on to. When his number was called, he answered the bell. I'm just wondering that we talked about this wide receiver 3 role. Maybe if the decision comes down between him and maybe Allen Robinson, I mean, I think you got to go Tim Patrick, and then for that maybe that 4 and 5, you can go a little bit younger and start grooming some of those guys to possibly move up to wide receiver 3 at some point.
Yeah, and I think the same thing could be said about Patrick as Robinson. They're probably going to look to boost that depth this season. So like whether they're back or not, they're going to have to fight for their spot. Yeah. So yeah, I think I just think, man, it's tough to even pencil Allen. He was on that roster like all season, had 3 catches for 30 yards. They all went for first down, so shouts out to the Detroit native. I'll take 18. We got cornerback Emmanuel Mosley. Man, what a good guy. What a tough journey. They've waited. It just has not happened. Torn his ACL 2 snaps into his return last year. Tore his pectoral, pregame setback, got an illness. If Mosley's going to step on an NFL field again, it's going to have to be elsewhere. I'm going to pass on Emmanuel Mosley with thoughts and prayers and best wishes to that man because what a warrior. He's tried everything he could to get back into it.
Yeah, and I talked just real quick. I talked to him in locker room cleanouts. You said the key word there. If he steps on an NFL field again, because just from talking to him and the stories on him live, it sounds like he's contemplating whether that's going to be a possibility or not.
Not surprising at all. I mean, what he's been through to even be in a locker room today deserves praise. I'll take 19 too. Jonah Williams, one of those practice squad poached guys. Listen, Brad Holmes scouted him when he was at the Los Angeles Rams. There's clearly something he liked there, but like if you're giving me the choice between a Kaminsky, a Pecco, or an O'Connor, I'm taking those 3 over this guy. So moving on there. And you get to take a fun one. Number 20, quarterback, Teddy, 2 gloves, Bridgewater.
Well, the key thing about it is if Bridgewater wants to come back. I mean, that's the real big thing about it. I mean, I would say that if Bridgewater wants to play another NFL season, I think that is a guy you have to bring back again. Another good locker room guy, and also for the simple fact that this is still a Super Bowl window, and you're hoping that nothing happens to Jared Goff. But in the event that something does happen, you have a quarterback that is taking meaningful NFL snaps that can step right in and steady the ship. Maybe he may not be Jared Goff, but he can be Teddy Bridgewater, and he's a guy that has proven that he can win some NFL games, and you're surrounding him with a very talented roster. No disrespect to Hendon Hooker, but just from what we've seen in training camp, and also just, hey, look at this. Going into that Commanders game, they made Bridgewater the backup. That was for a reason. So, yeah, I would definitely try to see if Bridgewater wants to come back.
I think he's going to try to do exactly what he did this year for as long as he possibly can. Coach high school, on retire, see him get a deal, repeat, wash, repeat, wash. Number 21 is easy. Michael Badgley, you gone. Sorry, that's a Jake Bates thing. That's not a you thing. Maybe they bring in some competition to fight for a practice squad spot, but I don't see the need unless something happens with Bates. You got your kicker of the future right there. And that is it. We did it. 21 unrestricted free agents. Yeah, that's all we got for you today. That was a lot. We went long, but it needed to be done. We've set the tone for the offseason.
Absolutely.
Free agency will be here before we freaking know it. The NFL Combine will be here before we know it. We're not going anywhere. We will not be twice a week, but we will be once a week. Wednesdays and Thursdays are going to be our recording day. We'll eventually get back into the mailbag swing of things, but there's just been a lot to talk about without needing questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think we just did 40 minutes without a question. So shout out to producer Patrick for putting up with us. Shout out to Kory. Shout out to myself. This has been your Dungeon to Doom podcast here at MLive, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.